What if I told you that every single morning, before the noise of the world begins, before the traffic, before the notifications, before the opinions of others, there is a voice waiting for you? Not outside, not on social media, not in the headlines, inside you. And the difference between people who drift through life and people who design their destiny is simple. One group wakes up and reacts, the other wakes up and listens. Today, I want to talk to you about why you must listen every morning and how that one habit can change your direction, your discipline, and your destiny. Every morning, before the sun fully claims the sky, before the traffic hums and the phones light up, there is a sacred window of silence. In that quiet space, your purpose waits patiently. It does not scream for attention. It does not compete with notifications. It simply waits for you to acknowledge it. If you reach for the world before you reach for yourself, you allow outside voices to define your priorities. And when you let the world speak first, you risk spending your energy fulfilling expectations that were never truly yours. Listening to your purpose in the morning is about reclaiming authority over your own direction before the day begins to pull you in every possible direction. Purpose is not always loud or dramatic. It often comes as a subtle reminder. A dream you once had, a goal you quietly set, a version of yourself you promised to become. In the stillness of the morning, when your mind is not yet crowded, you can hear that reminder clearly. You can ask yourself honest questions. What matters most to me? What kind of impact do I want to make? What habits align with the life I claim to desire? These questions are powerful because they shift you from reaction to intention. Instead of chasing tasks, you start pursuing meaning. Instead of drifting through responsibilities, you move with clarity. When you listen to your purpose before the world speaks, you begin to notice how easily distractions try to disguise themselves as opportunities. Not every open door is meant for you. Not every trend deserves your attention. Without purpose, you become vulnerable to comparison. You start measuring your worth by someone else's timeline, someone else's achievements, someone else's applause. But purpose anchors you. It reminds you that your path may look different, slower in some seasons, faster in others, and that is not a flaw. It is design. The morning is where you strengthen that anchor, where you remind yourself that you are not here to copy, but to create. Listening to purpose also builds resilience. When challenges come, and they will, purpose gives you a reason to endure them. If your only motivation is comfort or recognition, you will quit when those things disappear. But if your motivation is rooted in something deeper, something meaningful, you develop staying power. In the quiet of the morning, you can reconnect with that deeper reason. You can remember why you started, why you sacrificed, why you chose this path in the first place. That remembrance fuels perseverance. It transforms obstacles from roadblocks into refining fires. There is also a discipline in listening. It requires you to slow down in a culture that celebrates speed. It requires you to resist the urge to immediately scroll, respond, and react. Sitting in silence may feel uncomfortable at first because silence reveals truth. It reveals whether you are aligned with your goals or drifting away from them. But that discomfort is necessary. Growth begins with awareness, and awareness begins with listening. Each morning you choose to pause, reflect, and align. You strengthen your inner compass. You train yourself to seek direction from within before chasing validation from without. When you consistently listen to your purpose every morning, something powerful happens over time. Your decisions become sharper. Your time becomes more intentional. Your energy becomes focused rather than scattered. You start living proactively instead of passively. Instead of asking, "What does the world expect from me today?" You ask, what does my purpose require from me today? That shift changes everything. It transforms ordinary days into strategic steps toward a meaningful life. It turns mornings into moments of alignment, and it ensures that no matter how loud the world becomes, you move through it with clarity, conviction, and control. Every morning, your feelings will try to tell you what to do. They will whisper, stay in bed a little longer. It's too cold outside, or you can start tomorrow. Feelings are natural, but they are fleeting and unreliable. They change depending on mood, comfort, or circumstance. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It doesn't bend to laziness or fear. It is the quiet, consistent voice that says, do what you said you would do, even when it's hard. Listening to your discipline each morning is a practice of mastering yourself before the world tests you. It is choosing action over inertia, commitment over comfort, and results over excuses. Discipline is built in small, repeated actions. It isn't dramatic, and it doesn't demand applause. Waking up at the same time every morning, exercising, reading, planning your day, or taking the first step toward a goal. These are the little acts that compound over time. By listening to discipline instead of your feelings, you create a rhythm of progress. You develop trust in yourself. You prove that you are capable of more than you think, not because the world demands it, but because you hold yourself accountable. Each morning, the decision to honor discipline sets the tone for the entire day. Listening to discipline also strengthens your character. Feelings are persuasive, but they often lead to regret. They can convince you to skip a workout, delay a task, or avoid confrontation, leaving you with self-recrimination. Discipline is the antidote to that. When you respond to the call of discipline, you build integrity. Your actions align with your intentions, and over time, that alignment creates a powerful sense of self-respect. You start each day with the confidence that you are capable of keeping promises, not to others, but to yourself, and that confidence becomes unstoppable momentum. Discipline teaches consistency, which is often more important than brilliance. Talent without consistency is wasted potential. Motivation without discipline is temporary fire. But daily discipline, repeated over months and years, transforms your life in ways that dramatic efforts cannot. By listening every morning to discipline, you ensure that your progress is steady and dependable. You create habits that carry you through times when motivation fails. You lay the foundation for long-term achievement, brick by brick, without needing constant external validation. Moreover, listening to your discipline first thing in the morning builds mental toughness. The early hours are the hardest to claim because your mind is still attached to sleep, comfort, and ease. But pushing through that initial resistance strengthens willpower. It trains you to act before excuses take hold. You learn to start before you feel ready, to lead before approval arrives, and to move forward even when uncertainty looms. This mental resilience extends beyond mornings. It shapes how you approach every challenge, every setback, and every opportunity in life. Finally, choosing discipline over feelings establishes freedom. Freedom might seem paradoxical here. After all, discipline is a form of self-imposed structure. But the truth is, freedom comes from control over your impulses, not from indulgence in them. When you start the day by listening to your discipline, you are no longer a prisoner of fluctuating emotions. You act from choice rather than reaction. You step into your day with purpose, focus, and power. And when you consistently honor this internal voice, you create a life where success isn't left to chance. It is earned daily through deliberate action. Every morning, anxiety will try to claim your attention before you even step out of bed. It will list your unfinished tasks, the challenges ahead, the mistakes of yesterday, and the uncertainties of tomorrow. Your mind naturally wants to prepare for danger, to scan for problems, and to predict outcomes. But if you let anxiety speak first, it will dominate your thoughts, leaving you reactive, fearful, and depleted. Listening to gratitude before anxiety is a way to reclaim your mornings. It is choosing to focus on what is working, what you already have, and what opportunities exist instead of dwelling on what could go wrong. Gratitude doesn't ignore problems. It doesn't pretend life is perfect or easy. Instead, it shifts perspective, framing your life through acknowledgement rather than scarcity. In the quiet of the morning, you can consciously recognize the blessings that are often overlooked. Your breath, your health, your family, your strengths, your past lessons. When you tune in to gratitude first, it rewires your mindset. Challenges remain, but they become manageable. Pressure transforms into motivation. Fear is softened by the reminder that even small wins matter and that progress is cumulative, not instantaneous. Listening to gratitude each morning also strengthens resilience. Life will throw obstacles, delays, and disappointments at you, but a grateful mind can navigate them with balance. Gratitude reminds you that you have already overcome hardships before and that you are capable of handling more. By starting the day with this lens, you create a buffer between yourself and negative influences. You acknowledge the reality of challenges without letting them dictate your mood, your decisions, or your energy. Gratitude encourages presence. Anxiety often drags you into the future or the past, ruminating on mistakes, fears, or hypothetical disasters. By listening to gratitude first, you root yourself in the current moment. You notice what is working right now and where you have power to act. This grounding is essential because clarity and focus are born from presence. Once your mind is anchored in what you appreciate today, you can approach tasks with calm determination rather than panic-driven urgency. Moreover, the practice of morning gratitude improves emotional intelligence. When you begin each day appreciating life, you naturally become more patient, empathetic, and kind throughout the day. Gratitude is contagious. The energy you cultivate in silence spills into interactions, decisions, and leadership. By listening to it first, you start your day with internal alignment that manifests externally, strengthening relationships, reducing stress, and increasing your influence. Finally, listening to gratitude before anxiety is a daily act of empowerment. It is a conscious choice to decide what voice you will honor in your mind first. While the world, your obligations, and your fears may clamor for attention, gratitude is your anchor. It reminds you that life, no matter how chaotic, has value, meaning, and possibility. Over time, this habit rewires your brain, making positivity your default, strengthening your resilience, and allowing you to navigate every day with clarity, focus, confidence. Every morning, the world will try to convince you to settle. It will tell you, that's good enough, nobody will notice, or take the easy path. Standards, however, are not determined by others, they are defined by you. Listening to your standards first thing in the morning is a way of reminding yourself who you are and what you stand for before distractions and compromises creep in. It is the silent internal voice that asks, am I honoring my principles today? Am I showing up the way I promised myself I would? By answering these questions daily, you create a foundation of integrity that shapes every decision, interaction, and habit throughout your life. Standards are a reflection of self-respect. When you consistently adhere to them, you communicate to yourself and others that you value excellence and consistency. Excellence is not achieved through grand gestures or sporadic brilliance. It is the result of daily choices that align with high expectations. When you listen to your standards in the morning, you set the tone for the day. You determine how you will treat your work, your relationships, and yourself. Every action becomes a reflection of the level of quality you demand, and over time, this creates a reputation that is undeniable. Compromising your standards may feel tempting, especially in moments of fatigue, distraction, or social pressure. But listening to them each morning strengthens your discipline and fortitude. It trains you to make choices based on principle rather than convenience. Small concessions repeated over time can erode self-respect and lead to mediocrity. Conversely, consistently honoring your standards, even in minor tasks, reinforces your integrity and builds momentum that carries into larger, more important decisions. The morning is the perfect time to recommit because it is free from external noise. Listening to your standards also helps guard against regret. Often, people act impulsively or lazily, only to realize later that they fell short of what they were capable of. Standards act as an internal compass, guiding you toward alignment between intention and action. By checking in with them at the start of the day, you ensure that your behavior reflects your true values, preventing moments of moral or professional compromise. Over time, this vigilance becomes second nature, allowing excellence to become habitual rather than occasional. Morning reflection on your standards builds clarity and focus. It helps you identify priorities, establish boundaries, and recognize where effort should be directed. Standards are not just rules, they are a lens for evaluating every opportunity and decision. Listening to them allows you to act deliberately rather than reactively. Instead of being swayed by fleeting trends or external pressures, you act from a place of consistent principle. This creates a life of cohesion, purpose, and alignment between your daily actions and long-term goals. Finally, listening to your standards every morning is a practice in self-leadership. It strengthens the ability to govern your own behavior, to choose excellence over convenience, and to maintain control over the direction of your life. Standards are not imposed, they are claimed. When you start the day honoring them, you cultivate confidence, pride, and authority over your own path. And as these habits compound, you become someone who does not just follow the world's expectations, but sets a benchmark for how life should be lived, leaving a legacy of consistency, quality, and integrity. Every morning, your ego will try to take control. It wants comfort, recognition, and validation. It tells you you've done enough, don't risk embarrassment, or stay in your lane. Growth, on the other hand, speaks softly but persistently. It encourages learning, effort, and reflection. Listening to growth over ego each morning is a way of prioritizing long-term improvement over temporary comfort. It is a conscious decision to embrace challenge, accept correction, and pursue mastery even when it feels inconvenient or uncomfortable. Growth requires humility. The ego wants to be right, growth wants to be better. When you listen to growth first thing in the morning, you give yourself permission to acknowledge mistakes and weaknesses without shame. You ask, what can I improve today? Where can I push myself a little further? This mindset keeps you evolving. It prevents stagnation and complacency, and it creates an internal culture of self-challenge. By choosing growth daily, you ensure that every day becomes an opportunity to develop skills, character, and resilience. Listening to growth over ego also strengthens your ability to accept feedback. Criticism, suggestions, and lessons often trigger defensiveness because the ego fears being wrong or inadequate. But when you prioritize growth, feedback becomes a tool instead of a threat. Each morning, as you remind yourself of your commitment to improvement, you build mental flexibility. You train yourself to listen, reflect, and act on constructive input rather than dismissing it out of pride. Over time, this creates an adaptive mind that can navigate challenges and seize opportunities more effectively. Morning reflection on growth sharpens Focus on incremental improvement. Greatness is rarely built in giant leaps. It is achieved through small, consistent steps. When you listen to growth first thing, you consider how to be 1% better today than you were yesterday in skill, attitude, productivity, or relationships. That 1% may seem insignificant in a single day, but repeated over months and years, it compounds into transformation. Listening to growth in the morning ensures that progress is intentional rather than accidental. Choosing growth over ego also protects your long-term vision. Ego-driven decisions often prioritize short-term comfort, popularity, or appearance over meaningful outcomes. Growth-driven decisions, by contrast, focus on learning, resilience, and skill building. By checking in with growth each morning, you create a mindset that looks beyond immediate gratification. You focus on what truly matters, developing competence, character, and capacity instead of seeking approval or avoiding discomfort. This focus builds a trajectory toward achievement that is sustainable and authentic. Finally, listening to growth every morning cultivates courage and resilience. It allows you to confront failure, uncertainty, and criticism without being derailed by pride. You begin to view challenges as opportunities and mistakes as lessons, not as threats to your self-image. Over time, this practice develops a mindset that is unshakable, adaptable, and forward-moving. By prioritizing growth over ego, you ensure that each day contributes to becoming a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of yourself, someone who progresses steadily, consistently, and deliberately toward the life they aspire to lead. Every morning, fear will try to speak first. It whispers doubts, paints worst-case scenarios, and exaggerates risks. What if you fail? It asks, what if they reject you? What if today doesn't go the way you hoped? Fear is relentless because it wants to protect you from discomfort, but it also keeps you small. Listening to courage before fear is a deliberate choice to act despite uncertainty, to move forward even when the path feels risky, and to step into your day with boldness rather than hesitation. Courage doesn't eliminate fear, but it gives you the strength to act in spite of it. Courage is a quiet voice, often overshadowed by the louder warnings of fear. It doesn't shout or demand attention. It simply reminds you of your capacity to handle challenges, of the possibilities that exist beyond hesitation, and of the potential that lies dormant unless awakened. Listening to courage every morning trains your mind to focus on opportunity rather than limitation. It shifts the perspective from what could go wrong to what could I achieve if I try? This shift is subtle, but it determines how you engage with every task, conversation, and decision throughout the day. Morning courage also builds momentum. Small acts of bravery, repeated consistently, compound into boldness that transforms how you approach life. Getting out of bed to start a difficult project, making a phone call you've been avoiding, speaking up when it's uncomfortable. These daily choices strengthen your ability to act. Each morning you listen to courage first, you reinforce the idea that action matters more than inaction. Over time, courage becomes a habit, and fear loses its control over your decisions. Listening to courage first thing also reshapes your relationship with failure. Fear equates mistakes with disaster, but courage reframes them as learning opportunities. It allows you to try without being paralyzed by the possibility of error. In the morning, when you remind yourself to choose courage, you commit to taking action before doubt can immobilize you. You understand that mistakes are part of the journey, not the end of it, and that progress requires stepping into uncertainty with confidence. Courage also fuels creativity and innovation. Fear is rigid, it resists change and clings to comfort. Courage allows you to explore new ideas, test boundaries, and embrace unconventional approaches. By listening to courage in the morning, you create a mindset that welcomes experimentation and adaptation. You are less concerned with looking safe or pleasing others and more focused on achieving meaningful results, taking calculated risks, and expressing your full potential. Finally, listening to courage each morning empowers you to live authentically. Fear often persuades you to conform, to hide your voice, or to stay within perceived limits. Courage reminds you that your actions define your life, not your anxieties. By starting the day with courage, you establish a pattern of intentional bravery. You step into the world fully engaged, prepared to face challenges, pursue opportunities, and take responsibility for your choices. Over time, this practice strengthens your confidence, fortifies your resilience, and allows you to live a life driven by action, conviction, and the relentless pursuit of your true potential. Every morning is a choice. You can wake up and let the world dictate your mood, your thoughts, and your actions. Or you can wake up and listen to your purpose, your discipline, your gratitude, your standards, your growth, and your courage. These voices are always waiting, quietly guiding you toward the person you are capable of becoming. The difference between a life that drifts and a life that matters isn't luck, timing, or talent. It's what you choose to hear first. It's the commitment to show up, to act intentionally, and to improve, even by just 1% each day. When you make listening a habit, mornings stop being ordinary. They become your launch pad, your strategy, and your promise to yourself that you will not settle for less than your potential. So, starting tomorrow and every morning after pause, listen. Let the voices that empower you speak louder than the voices that try to hold you back. And watch as your life transforms not by chance, but by choice.